everyone could stand and join me for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have one agenda adjustment that was made after the agenda was made public, so we did add item 7.1 to the agenda. That's the only adjustment that we've made. We'll move down to 2, consideration of minutes. 2.1, to approve the minutes of the Board of Directors April 3rd, 2024 special budget meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing as there's none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? All those not in favor? And abstaining? 2.2, to approve the minutes of the Board of Directors April 10th, 2024 school board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Are you all set? Okay. All those not in favor? All those abstaining? May I ask why?
I didn't review them.
Okay, Laura?
Same.
Number 3, public comment. We ask that if you do come up for public comment, that you let us know who you are, what town you are from, and refrain from using any student name or teacher name. So the mic is anyone who would like to join. Seeing as there's none, we'll move down to 4. There are no petitions and communications, and we'll move down to 5 as soon as Katie sits. 5.1, superintendent's report.
I'll comment on one thing is that we had a great wellness PD session during the PLGs. And I don't know if it was after vacation or before vacation, but so a big shout out to the wellness committee, especially to Jessica Klum, who oversees it. But people participated. There was so much positive feedback around the wellness items they got to do. And
I'm sorry, can you not use acronyms or explain what PLG
okay,
is?
yes, professional learning community stuff that we do, groups. So yes,
Thank you.
You're welcome. Our Wednesday afternoon. So I just want to give a shout out for that. And then the work has really been about budget and hiring and lots of different things.
Thank you, Katie. 5.2, assistant superintendent report.
So I am just going to do a quick overview of some of the family engagement activities. I think you get a sample of them throughout the year in our building principal reports, but under our title funding, so I know we kind of talked about what the title of my position is. There is a component where we have to provide some family engagement in our pre-K 4 schools. Typically we aim for at least 3 events. Sometimes they're during the school day where there's what we consider like a parent curriculum. So some activity that students partake in and then a connection goes home that the learning can continue at home. And then there are other events that happen at night that we invite families in. You have seen literacy events happening. You've seen math events. We've seen a PBIS event. Carrie Ricker did the one book, one school event. So we try to, right now, link the events to match our school-wide goals. So we have a PBS one, we have a math one, and a literacy. One of the ones that we have every single year is the Read Across America. So it's a national week, and Becky D'Alessandro, our literacy coach, and next year we'll have another coach that will help her, puts on events all throughout the week. And you saw that we had the high school write their AP class actually wrote some children's books and were able to go and read. And so there's a different event every single day to kind of boost our literacy. And I wanted to highlight, because we did post this on the Facebook page and we have it on the website under that ESSA page, so under that title. But I just wanted for everyone to kind of see, it's just like 5 or 6 minutes to kind of give you a highlight of all the different things that happened in each of the schools, from the masked reader to some other fun events. But it is all funded out of that grant, the federal grant. So none of these events, all of the activities and the materials are all federally funded.
Hello, this is Mrs. D'Alessandro to tell you
Hello,
all about
this is
Read
Mrs.
Across
D'Alessandro
America
to tell
that
you
took
all
place
about
at
Read
our
Across
three
America
elementary schools
that
in
took place at our
RSU 4 at the
3
beginning of
elementary
March.
schools in RSU 4 at the beginning of March. With the help of a humongous village of support, I was able to put together a celebratory reading experience that impacted over 500 of our students. Read Across America was an initiative launched in 1998 by the National Education Association to promote the value of reading to children across the country. It is celebrated in schools all over the U.S. This year, I chose to showcase the art of reading and writing through color, theater, illustration, and creative expression. Each day of Read Across America Week in our elementary schools featured a unique event to bring joy to our readers and writers. On Monday, we celebrated the rainbow of color in books. Teachers read colorful books and students decorated book covers. With the help of Miss Lopes and Miss Perry, our art teachers, we created beautiful rainbows in each building. On Tuesday, we learned that stories can come to life. We enjoyed a fantastic Readers Theater performance by Lucy Ryu and members of her Oak Hill High School drama troupe, Destiny, Sarah, and Dylan. We reviewed that actors make stories come together and come to life with their voices, bodies, and imagination. On Wednesday, we read Old Favorites. Some classes partnered up to share favorite stories, and we welcomed our pre-K teachers, Mrs. LaValle and Mrs. Casares, to read Old Favorites and pay visits to their former students. On Thursday, we welcomed student authors and illustrators from Oak Hill High School to read children's books that they have written specifically for this event. This collaboration and powerful learning opportunity for our oldest and youngest students could not have been possible without the support of teachers Katie Stubbs and Jeremy Young, ELA teachers at Oak Hill High School. I'd also really like to spend time thanking all 25 of the high school student authors who came. We began the process in early January. As I said, 25 student authors came to visit our primary schools. Thank you to AJ and Destiny. Thank you to Sutton and Kiana. Thank you, Jamie and Olivia. Thank you to Sarah and Sophia and Landon. Thank you, Lindsay, Delia, and Julia. Special thanks to Jacob, Fiona, and Olivia. Thank you, Lucas and Aspen. Thank you, Emma and Jack. Thank you to Gabe and Cadence. Thank you, David. Thank you, Nee and Kaylee and Isabel. On Friday, the masked readers came to our schools. Staff members hid under masks, read part of a story, and the students had to guess who the voice belonged to. The reveals were a hoot for students and staff alike. This will be an event that we continue for years to come. Here's an example from SPS.
How good is it? It's been this way since the start. People have not heard his say. There was a dozen of us, and we lived there together under one single roof. I'm always
And then the reveal. We had a great time at each building. Libby Tozier staff who supported the Masked Reader Project were Mr. Toby, Miss Gazafava, Mrs. McEwen, Mrs. LaValle, and Miss Judy. At Carrie Ricker, we had a great time. Thank you to the staff members, Mr. Johnston, Mrs. Begani, Mrs. Newcomb, Mr. Cohen, Mrs. Ireland, and Mrs. Twaddell. And SPS would like to thank Mrs. Morgan, Nurse Aaron, Mrs. Gagnon, Ms. Lopes, and Ms. Netto. I believe that our work to make this event happen annually at all 3 schools will help instill the love of reading in our children and our families. Thank you to the incredible RSU4 staff for their collaboration and support in making this week such a success. I will see you again next year.
Thank you. Next, we'll move down to 5.3, our administrators' reports. We are starting off with Oak Hill Middle School.
Hi, everyone. I apologize for my voice. I'd like to first start out by saying a huge thank you to our secretaries. It's Administrative Professionals Day, and a really big thank you to our very own Mrs. Field, who works tirelessly to support the students, staff, and families of RSU4. The last few months have been really busy at Oak Hill Middle School. We had representatives from the high school come down to visit 8th grade classes to talk about course offerings to help students select classes for the fall. The Oak Hill Middle School, or the Oak Hill High School Band and Chorus also visited the middle school students to talk with the students about the music program. And they also performed a few numbers for the 7th and 8th grade students. Mrs. Cody, our gifted and talented teacher, took the gifted and talented students on an educational field trip to the Center for Innovation at Bates Mills. Here, students were able to connect with the local history for National History Day. On this slide, Oak Hill Middle School staff and students, there's lots of pictures of the assembly that we had recently. We continue working to strengthen our school community, and the Climate and Culture Committee kicked off our April vacation with our 2nd annual whole school spring fling assembly. This assembly is an example of the ongoing improvement of our school's daily environment as we continue to build relationships, establish clear expectations that are aligned with our PBIS initiatives, and they're recognized by the raccoon tickets that you can see here. We filled our first raccoon jug. And to celebrate the hard work that everyone is doing, staff and students came together for an afternoon filled with games and fun grade level competitions. Events ranged from relay races, jello eating contests, and tug of war brackets. Engagement was at its peak as grade levels competed once again for bragging rights and the highly sought out spirit stick. In other news, the art teacher, Jen Williams, along with 6th grade teacher, Sarah Bedard, they're collaborating on a mural in the cafeteria. The whole school got in on the action by brainstorming positive words about Oak Hill Middle School. The top pics will appear on the mural. The 4 words that you see pictured here that they've started to paint are the Oak Hill Middle School Code of Conduct words. Mrs. William is the mastermind behind the design, and with some help from the GT art students, the painting is underway. And we look forward to revealing the final painting at our Day in the Life All Arts Night on May 15th. We look forward to showcasing a day in the life of an Oak Hill Middle School on May 15th, and this event will showcase artwork that students have created throughout the school year. From 4 to 7, families are invited to visit Oak Hill Middle School, follow their student schedule, and see student artwork on display, and stay for the Oak Hill Middle School band and chorus concert that starts at 6 o'clock in the gym. And finally, this Friday is the big day that many of our 5th graders have been waiting for, their very first middle school dance. The dance is open to 5th and 6th graders only, and it runs from 2 to 4 p.m. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. And we'll move down to Sabatis Primary. Oh, it's Sabatis Primary. We're still on the rotation.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I want to also say Happy Administrative Assistance Day to Tanya Olette at Sabatis Primary School. She goes above and beyond for our students, our staff, and anyone who shows up at the door every single day. If you have been near SPS, you know Tanya and her enthusiasm. She never stops. She does everything and always with a smile. So very thankful for Tanya. I'd like to start off my report with talking about our annual Book for Bikes Challenge. This year we are upping the incentives with starting out April vacation with each student getting a book. And book shopping with Ms. D'Alessandro, classes came down and picked a book to bring over April vacation. And as you see in the left-hand corner is their little reading log. For every 15 minutes that they read, they can exchange for a ticket for the Books for Bike drawing. Every single student will get a book for participating in the challenge. We had an amazing presentation from Ooch. He is an entertainer that comes to schools and talks about experiences and skills for life, and we started implementing some of the life lessons that Ooch offered. So he talks about how to make a mistake and starts with admitting it, owning it, cleaning it up, forgiving yourself, learning from it, then making new ones. I would like to highlight we got a shout out that's on YouTube to Libby Tozier and Sabatis Primary Schools, where he did a special yo-yo trick, and kids could only see it by clicking on the YouTube link, and it's a Darth Vader. The link's right in there. Yeah. Darth Vader yo-yo.
Hey, parents of Libby Tozier students and Sabatis Primary, Ooch here. Yep, I'm in a show right now with your kids. Now, I know it's kind of hard for me to prove that, so I'll have them prove it by having them say their line. Yo, 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 hey, hey, hey is right. I am so proud of them because today we learned how to make a mistake. And I'm not talking about like what to do after we make a mistake and to do it immediately. I'll show you the moves, but they're going to tell you what it is at home. Watch. It starts here, then it goes here. Then we do this, then we do this, then we do this. There's a lot of moves here. Then we do this, and then we do this. But before I go, I wanted to share with you a yo-yo trick that I told the kids I would do. This is Darth Vader. This is a picture trick. I'm going to make a picture with the string and bring them up nice and close to you so you can see Darth Vader. Now, the only way your kids are going to be able to see this really clearly is by watching this video. You should be so proud of them. They did a great job.
So as you can...
I was ready to hatch some cool pets.
We didn't do that. But as you can see, he was such high energy, totally captivated the audience. everyone in that room was dancing, excited, and it just helped the kids with using different signals to own a mistake, and just saying, like, the faster you say, I did it, and then, yep, all me, and then the cleaning it up, and just forgiving yourself, and then you're going to make another one. So it was very cute, and the kids loved it. We had some awesome events, and I'm not going to have the pajama party concert be played. It's about 26 minutes, but I did want to link it in case anyone wanted to watch it. It was super cute. We had the concert held by Ella, our music teacher, who did the pajama party theme, where all kids came dressed up in first grade with their stuffies, singing songs, and it was so cute. It was like creepy under the bed and falling asleep, and we had a great turnout. The gym was full. And that leads me to the next event. We had the Glow Math Night, where we had over 200 people come to our event, and it was packed. It was a little dark at first until your eyes adjusted, and you know what? No one got hurt. All of the different events were glowing. Kids had so much fun. They were engaged in many different games, interactive walls, glow in the dark, airplane races, making colored slime. Everyone had a chance to get to each station and had a great time. So I do want to say a huge thank you to Miss Munsey, our math coach, and Miss Ireland, our PBIS coach, who helped facilitate that, and then all of our staff for putting on these events. And we have had a great turnout with families coming to all of our events this year. And we're excited for this end of the year. I'll have a lot more to report on with our different field trips and events to close out the year. Scary that we're getting there. I did not want to play that. Thank you all so much. That's it.
Next will be Libby Tozier and Carrie Ricker.
All right. At Libby Tozier, we've had lots of exciting events happening since we've last been here. Here we have our volunteer working in the classroom. We've had some volunteers sign up lately. It's been a big push for us this year. We had all the students be making not so fast. All the students making teddy bears. And what this was is part of a literacy lesson. So the students made a teddy bear, they named it, and then they went in to do descriptive characteristics of the teddy bear, talked about it, and had a written piece for it, which was really exciting, a high engagement activity for us. If you'd like to volunteer, feel free to reach out to us. Next slide is our St. Patrick's Day dances and routines the kids were learning. Lots of fun here with our music teacher. Festive activities throughout the school. And our next slide shows our pre-K teacher, Jan LaValle, reading to our students here very enthusiastically. This is pretty much every day in pre-K. If you ever need to pick me up, head down to the pre-K wing. It's always exciting. The kids, as you can see on the picture, are always engaged in the lesson, which is very impressive to do. I also want to give a big shout out to Janice Plant, our admin assistant for Admin Assistance Day. We could not go through a day without her. She's absolutely amazing. Up at Carrie Ricker on Wednesday, April 10th, Carrie Ricker opened our doors to students and their families to come spend an hour with us engaging in math activities of several kinds. We call the event Math to Go, coming from the idea that all activities from the evening could be packed up in a small restaurant to-go box and used as the families go to restaurants, doctor's appointments, camping, things like that. Almost every student pre-packed their own family's to-go box, which was distributed at the end of the evening. Each box contained directions and the necessary materials for each game and activity. During the evening, attendees had the opportunity to play several versions of compare, addition, and multiplication squares, even and odd. These games had variations that we hope meet the needs of all students in attendance regardless of their age or math abilities. Additionally, there were many estimation jars that once again proved to be a favorite activity. Winners were announced before everyone left, so we had many happy smiles in faces, smiling faces as they left. Even though our original date had to be changed due to the April snowstorm, we still had close to 60 students and 20 staff members attend, helping one way or another. So thank you to those who came. During the month of March, our Carrie Bricker students and their families took part in a special community-wide shared reading event. This is what Kathy had talked about through our PBIS coach, Tracy Ireland. Each family received a free copy of the book, Friendship According to Humphrey. Families were given a reading schedule and were asked to read the book together at home so that each chapter could be discussed the following day at school. CRS Carrie Bricker school staff also created voice recordings of each chapter that students could access at home if needed. Everyone, students, parents, teachers, school staff, and administrators were encouraged to follow along together. Students were invited to answer daily trivia questions, take part in vocabulary challenges, write and share a poem about the book at our assembly, create advice for a friendship bulletin board, and enjoy the special hamster-friendly snacks. We all had fun learning this sweet story about friendships as we built a community of readers. And also a quick shout out to Kate Schnapp, our admin assistant, who does an amazing job at Carrie Bricker. Thank you.
Next up is Oak Hill High School.
Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for a few moments of your time to share the most recent happenings at Oak Hill High School. The last few months have been super busy, so here we go. We hosted our annual 8th grade student and parent night in March with a huge turnout. A big thank you to Oak Hill Middle School for their help in promoting the event. Students heard from myself, Sue, and Brian about student life at Oak Hill High School and tips for success. I really enjoyed the back and forth with the students and parents during my presentation time. Just as a little anecdote here, we had a raffle. We do this every year. We raffle off a number of items of Oak Hill swag, which we purchased from the boosters. And the first 10 winners were females. And so there was a chant of that it was a rigged raffle. And there was a section of about 20 boys in the front row to my right who again thought it was rigged. And finally, when we called a number from their group, the whole group came up to get a T-shirt, which I really appreciated. And I won't name a board member's son who was part of that group. It was a lot of fun. Overall, it was a lot of fun. It was. Parents and students were then able to take tours of the building and meet their departments, and extra and co-curricular activities. It was such a great event, and I look forward to seeing our 8th graders in the fall as 9th graders. And then I mentioned this maybe a couple of weeks ago, or not a couple of weeks, could have been months ago now at this point, but as you are aware, FBLA won the state competition for the 26th year in a row, and I believe I mentioned at some point they were featured on the program 207. I linked the video here to watch. If you guys have seen it, we don't need to watch it. It's totally fine. But I just want to make sure that it's there if you guys would like to review that at a later date. And I'd also like to let you know that Academic Decathlon team left this morning for their national competition in Pittsburgh, which you guys approved, and we very much appreciate that. And my last slide here is yesterday we celebrated the induction of new National Honor Society students. One, Lily Ames, was part of that group, so congratulations, Lily. I really enjoyed this assembly quite a bit. It kicks off kind of our celebration season, if you will, at the high school with all of our different events. The other reason I really like it is the fact that it's not only recognition for students who are going into National Honor Society and the 4 pillars of scholarship, service, leadership, and character, but also how well behaved our student body is in the recognition of their peers. The student body, if you attend it at some point, is completely silent during the assembly. I think it's the addition of the candles and flame, maybe, that keeps them occupied. But we also had this year our honorary inductee was one of our custodians and well-deserved, Mr. Christopher Tremblay. And finally, I'd like to recognize our hardworking administrative assistants at Oak Hill High School, Louise Gothier and Lorraine Curran. We appreciate all they do for our students and staff. And also, I want to mention that Mel, who's behind me here, has done an amazing job. As I think I've said to you guys before, she's a great poker player when she goes on our behalf for LRTC slots. And so Mel and Aaron Cloutier at the high school were able to secure 50 slots for our students, which is amazing. So I just want to say thank you very much to her. Yeah, some really excited kids yesterday, that's for sure, when we handed out those, was it yesterday? Yesterday. We handed out those notices that they had been accepted to their programs. I mean, you know, kids thinking that weren't going to get in, and then they get in, tears. I mean, it's just like, it's powerful. So appreciate Mel's effort to make sure that every kid gets a slot. And that's my report.
Thank you. Director's report will be our next meeting in May, and we will turn down to 5.5. Our student rep report with Lily as Destiny is on her way to academic house.
Okay, so starting off, I have.
You'll have to get a little bit closer to
here.
you.
I knew it was gonna happen one time.
I know. You can take it off. Yeah, you can hold it.
Oh, okay, that might be better. Okay, that's much better. For sports, our sports have started off very strong this season. Girls softball just won their game against Lisbon, and so did boys baseball. Boys lacrosse won a game recently against Oxford Hills, and our two esports teams have made playoffs, or two of the esports teams. Planning for prom has started, and tickets are officially on sale. We're very excited for this year's event at Lost Valley, as always. And the NHS induction ceremony happened, and we have 10 new people inducted. Wow. And then Civil Rights is hosting a 5K walk/run at Oak Hill Middle School on the 27th at 9 a.m. There will be prizes for several winners of the race. And then finally, OHLA is planning a Teacher Appreciation Week where we are making goodie bags and writing cards for our high school teachers.
For those who don't know what OHLA is, can you explain that to them?
I don't know the exact words. I should, because next year I'm going to be president of it, but
I just totally put her on the spot.
Basically, it's just, we do a lot for like our school, like for 8th grade parent night. OHLA was the one that gave the tours and stuff. It's Mr. Alberti. There we go. Yeah, that's what it is. Yes. A lot of stuff. Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot. All right, we will move down into, yes, very good. Old business. So we're going to start off with the budget review. Katie and Sam have put together another awesome presentation for us. I have asked and have seen that. I'm not going to be able to turn around and see this slide.
I'm
Okay.
going to follow you.
Okay. So I asked them to put together somewhat of a summary of kind of what the journey has been as we've started our budget talks and discussions. So what it will look like, and I know this is the first time some of you are seeing the presentation, so I'll give you a few minutes to kind of take a look at it. But your first couple of slides, what you're seeing is the meeting date, what was proposed by Katie and the administrative staff, and then any kind of directives that the board had given her on that meeting and what to come back for the next meeting. So those are the first two slides. Right?
Somebody gave me Katie's flying.
She's totally ruining my presentation.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm here for you now.
All right. So you'll see on February 28th, that was the very first meeting that we had about budget talks, and that was when Katie presented us with the hot topics that we all she thought would be a part of the upcoming budget season. There were no kind of directives given to her at that time, so we just kind of went with what was said. They came back. We reviewed cost centers 1 through 7, on March 13th, and again, there was still no kind of real clear direction that was given to the admin at that time. Then we attempted to review March 20th the other cost centers, but never really made it into those cost centers because cost centers 1 through 7 kept most of our attention. And again, that was no direction was given to her at that time. Then we had April 30th. I'm really pushing it. April 3rd, where some things were given back. Some direction was given to her, and these are the things that she came back with. And then 2 weeks ago, that meeting, April 10th, was another one where she gave out some other direction following what you guys had asked for as a percentage cut. Came back with that, and then where you, as a board, came together and decided to give her some other sort of direction. So I'd like you guys to take a few minutes, because I know this is the first time some of you are seeing this part of this presentation. And I can't say that this was just Katie's work either. This was my work. I asked for this to be put together because I think it's very important that you see that this is what has been happening the last 4 or 5 meetings that we've had. So it's very important that we come together and have a number. We have to have some sort of a given today. And I thought it was important for you to see where we started to kind of like where we are at this point. So take a minute, we'll go there, and then we can go down through the overview, which is kind of like what you did for the first 2 slides, but more writing, more thicker. Do you want to go and do you want? Yeah. Is there any more discussion you guys want to have? Once you've kind of reviewed what we've got, I'd like to see if we got any discussion. If not, we'll move right in.
6.2.
Yep. Any questions or discussion? Okay, remember that once we set this number, whether we're unanimous or not, we have to make sure that we have the public, when we promote this for the public, to come out and give their vote, give their opinion. Laura?
Sorry, I still just need a minute to kind of flip through the rest of these pages that we're just looking at, so sorry.
So the slides aren't anything you guys haven't seen before. Everything that's in these slides you've seen. Multiple times. Yes. And it's the directions that you have given Katie and the admin staff to go to.
Or non-direction.
Or no direction. Laura?
So I don't really know that that's a fair thing to state, but I think over the last few weeks, this is open to discussion, right? We're in discussion. So I think over the last few weeks, there's been a lot of concern expressed over the number, and I think it'll be very challenging for a 7, an 8, a 5% increase. Can you remind me what last year's increase was? 1.85.
1.7, I think is where we're Samantha.
Okay, thank you. And that took 4 attempts. And those attempts, I know there's been comments made that it was people weren't raising their hand, we weren't unified as a board, and all of these things. And I really don't think that had anything to do with it. I think the taxpayers in our community have come to numerous meetings as well just from the notes that were approved tonight. There's been a lot of concern that they can't afford it. And I feel like the board has not listened to the taxpayers that have showed up. I haven't seen a ton of emails saying that, yes, increase it, we can afford it, all of those things. I do have recollection of one person stating that they didn't think the budget should be cut. They thought it was, well within the affordable range and things like that. But the majority of the public that has come to these meetings has stated that it's not affordable. And I just don't want to wind up in a similar situation as last year either. So I don't think our towns can afford it.
I understand what you're saying. But we also have to remember that we are part of the school board for our children. We're not just here for taxpayers' purposes. We have to offer the best education for our students. So if that's how that works, like, you also have to go back and look. There was a presentation given to you that cut over $500,000 from the budget, and in the direction that the board gave for Katie, you said you didn't want that.
So with vacating a school, that there is a committee with a plan that's been meeting every month and developing a plan around this. That was a very radical decision to throw out there that has hurt that committee. We just had that subcommittee meeting today, and it has hurt those efforts of that committee. So yes, there was. You could also throw out a plan to close Libby Tozier and Sabatis Primary. Like, there's so many other questions that come with that. I don't think that was a well thought out proposal to our school.
Okay, so then.
So I could say, you could say to cut a lot of things, right? Like, nobody wants to cut things. Everybody wants we want every opportunity for the kids in our school. Some things that, you can look at reducing, other things can substitute that, right? So like if sports gets cut, then the boosters and parents and fundraising. So it's not like, oh, if we cut here, that completely goes away and our kids have no opportunity for that. Well, you know what? Things are tight everywhere. Taxpayers have stood here and said, it's too much, we can't afford it. And then to say, well, it's one or the other, I just am concerned with sending these 8% increases to the town that we're going to wind up in the same situation. We waste everyone's time. Towns close, open for voting those days. People go in, they vote no, they vote no, they vote no, over and over last year. And that was only a 1 point, sorry.
I think it was 8.5.
Sam?
It was 1.34.
1.34, and we're asking for what this year?
Well, we started at a different place. Last year we started at a different place.
Yeah, perhaps in a better place.
Hang on. Are you done, Laura?
I think that there's reduction of positions with the science teacher, and specifically lost classroom time, and then to have, we need a transportation director. We don't have a bus garage. Everything's outsourced. I understand it's work. The food service director, looking at the opportunities with having that within the cafeteria itself. I really think that sometimes when we offer or we have discussions that, you know what, this is where we're at, who can help out, I think that you find that people will do that. So.
Any other discussion?
I mean, I kind of did want to add, I agree we're here for the education of the children, but I mean, we're elected to be the voices of these people in the communities, okay? And not only that, we are funded 100% by the taxpayer. So it's kind of disingenuous to say we're just here for that when they have elected us to be their voices. And I feel like part of my responsibility is to make sure that they're not being taken advantage of, and that the taxpayers are getting a fair deal here. And I just don't see that, especially in today's environment. Yeah, we were in a different place last year. I mean, they say inflation was 3%, is realistically more like 8%. We're facing reevaluations on our properties this year. I mean, that alone, I don't even know what that's going to be. I expect a significant increase there, and then another increase here. I know personally I can't afford it, so I can imagine some of the other folks in my town can't either. So I would also like to say, I thought that there was consensus among us that the SPS closure was not something we wanted to proceed with.
Correct.
Am I
So-
seeing that in here? 'Cause I
No,
thought-
you are not. You're seeing it as part of the journey
Just the
that has
timeline.
gone. Yeah, it's just part of your timeline. It's just letting you know, like, these are some of the things that were brought. These are some of the things that the board had asked to be changed or done.
So
That's
in
all that
so
was.
in saying that, can we get that's where we left off last week or last meeting was
Last
this is
meeting,
where
you
we
guys
were
left
2
off
weeks
with a
ago.
number.
We left off with a number, but we
Yes.
didn't necessarily know how they were going to approach this number. So can we get a
This is what happened. Vacate SPS. No. Non-position was at 273,910. The board made it 252,000. Positions were 341,800. The board went to 99,600. That's how you ended up with. So, and then so you didn't do the 273,910. You didn't do the 341,800. Instead, you decided what you wanted to reduce, and that's the problem.
So that's where the number comes from. that we
and I
will-
also
will vote
noticed
on.
that and the estimated annual increases for all towns, it looks like we only have per 100,000 on home values.
Yeah.
Can we like add back in?
So we did that intentionally because everybody wants it a different way. So it was per 100,000
Is
home
it
value.
exact math to just time? So
Yes.
at a $400,000 home to
Yeah.
times that by 4.
Correct. That's why we did it. So if you knew what approximately what your assessed value is, you could take that amount.
I didn't know it was. I don't know the exact formula on that. So.
Yeah, you just multiply it by yes. Mm-hmm.
More discussion. Okay, so then we'll move down.
Wait, Nicole has.
Just looked away.
Okay.
So I'd just like to say that I echo everybody's comments here. I don't think anybody's saying anything about our towns that isn't true. Not everybody can afford what is being presented. There is a lot going on in Sabattis right now, which I'm sure everybody is aware. And then we know we have the difficulties with the Litchfield town and what they want to do, or even just a sub portion thereof. But there's talk about withdrawing. So there's no sense of community there. I don't think, and I said this the last time in the last few meetings, I don't think an 8% increase is appropriate or fair. I still stand by the fact that when your household budget only pulls in certain wages, you don't get a raise, your gas price goes up, your electricity goes up, everything goes up. You have to make changes. You have to coupon. You have to buy generic brands. You have to not eat out as much. Right? Those are the things you have to do. Now, obviously, that's very different in a budget this vast. But I just did the math, and the additional local contribution for a total of the towns is $1.5 million. And the state contribution went up for Litchfield and Wales, and only went down for Sabattis, $25,000. That to me says we are not putting forth a budget to our townspeople that is what they asked for. And I take issue with comments being made about not giving ideas. I don't think that is a fair statement. And I also take issue with the fact that we are told that we're here only for the students, or implied that it's only for the students and not the taxpayers, when, just like what Scott said, they pay this. They all support this 100%. And our own policy states that we are to serve within the framework provided by law and responding to the will of the local citizenry. So I just felt the need to reiterate that. I don't have much more to offer, in that I don't think this number is going to work, and I think we're going to be in the same predicament as we were last year. Thank you.
Thank you. So what is the solution? That's the question. So I'm looking at our law, because that's where my brain went, and there's nothing about the taxpayers in Title 20A, which is Education, Chapter 101, General Provisions of School Board Organizations. It is around our duty as school board members is to present a budget that we believe will guarantee the young people in our communities the education they deserve. And there's different stipulations, like we are responsible for the maintaining of buildings. We are responsible to pay our workforce. We are responsible to provide them health insurance. We are responsible to create policies, to review curriculums. Yes, it is important to take that into consideration, but I think when we're looking at the number and just thinking about tax increases instead of really what our students need in order to have a high quality education, we're missing the mark. And I understand that we can't just expect people to continue to pay more and more and more, but we need to come up with a solution. Because I think, yes, it's the number, but really it's the process, and it's the what we are portraying in terms of what our students need. And I'm not sure that, and I will own what I said, I don't believe that we have given much direction to Katie at all. And I'm not sure what we can expect if we haven't given, the only direction that we have given is outlined here on these two slides. And then just saying, well, 8.35 is too high. Well, then what is the solution? I think we need to make some hard decisions. And I'm not sure what our next steps are.
Anyone else? So we're going to move down to 6.2. This is the amount that you guys had kind of done a soft yes or no to last meeting. So 6.2, to approve the 2004-2025 RSU 4 school budget in the amount of $23,377,580.
I so move.
Second.
I will call for discussion, but we just literally had discussion. But if you feel you need to still have discussion, then we can do that. None. So I will call for the vote. All those in favor? Okay. All those not in favor? So 6.3, motion. I move that the vote entitled Vote to Call and Approve the Warrants for the Budget Meeting and the Budget Validation Referendum, and to authorize the notice of amounts adopted to be approved in form presented to this meeting, and that a copy of said vote be included with the meeting minutes of the meeting. And I will not read the rest of it, as you guys can read it yourself. So I'm asking for a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing and there's none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? All those not in favor? Can I ask that you not, can we vote and not make too much noise?
You can
while we're
ask, but I'm
counting,
looking
just
something
so
up.
Where, because you can't hear it on the
Respectfully,
mic. Thank you. All those not in favor?
Just a reminder that you have a lot of paperwork to sign, so at the end, we'll pass around everything you need to sign.
7, new business. 7.1, to elect Justin Kelcher? Sorry, I knew I was going to mess it. Kelleher. I knew I was going to mess it up. As the Director of Special Services as recommended by the Superintendent of Schools.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? He is here. Would you mind coming up, Justin? Just take a minute. So for some of us that weren't those in the meeting, could you just kind of introduce yourself, tell us where you're coming from, and why you want to come to RSU4?
Sure. Hi, I'm Justin Kelleher. Currently, I'm the special ed director in Waterville. Prior to that, I spent some time at CDS, Lewiston, and RSU1 in Bath as the director of special education. In terms of why RSU4, I live locally, spend a lot of time in the community with my family and my kids. I was attracted to the size of the district. I've recently worked in some larger districts, and I'm looking forward to having the chance to work a little bit more closely with teachers and support teachers to support student staffs and families. I was impressed with the people I met in the interview process. I've heard positive things about the district overall, and I really would appreciate the opportunity to build some relationships with the families, the students, and the staff in the district. So, any other questions?
Did I
Yeah,
answer
you
your
included
question?
it. I figured it'd been warned, but you already.
Someone told me, that's why I have these notes here. Somebody warned me that maybe there was a question.
I asked it all
Yeah,
together.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right. Seeing as there's no more questions or discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. 7.2, the board authorizes the superintendent to contract with Harriman, funded through ARP, to complete major school construction application for the Libby Tozier and Sabattis primary schools.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions?
Katie, why did you choose Harriman's? How did that all work? What was the process?
So when I talked to Scott Brown at the state and kind of said what is required when we do that, there's a list of architect firms on there. I've had a lot of experience with Harriman. So he was like, you need to probably reach out to who you know, because this is a huge, fast turnaround. As you can see, they're going to start the work tomorrow, So it's a fast turnaround. So when I reached out and asked Lisa Swan, who I'd worked with the Edward Little High School project, she said, we'll do that, and sent over the proposals, and that's why we're with Harriman. And it's only for the application.
Right.
Yes.
Nicole?
I was curious if they had a success rate in prior workings that they have submitted or compiled for proposals.
These states. I don't have the list in front of me. I know they had the Edward Little High School project. They're working on one right now. Oh gosh, what is it? Oh. It's one that had, she said, egress problems, and they ended up high on the list. It's an elementary school. But I can get that for you. I mean, they are very well known and have done a lot of projects.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Scott, were you asking me something?
No, I was thought maybe RSU 51 or.
Oh, it might be. Right. Yeah. They've done a lot of school projects.
Anyone else? All right. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? All those not in favor? We'll move down to 8 committee reports. The Finance Facilities Consolidation Subcommittee.
Laura, do you want me to report out, or do you want? Yes. Okay. That's how to put you on the spot. Yeah. So, as it was stated before, we kicked off with questioning why I brought SPS vacancy before the committee was working. So as I explained to them, that there's a lot of moving parts right now. And so when you're looking at reducing a budget significantly, you have to put out a significant reduction. And so that's why the vacancy was suggested but not closed. However, it wasn't stopping the work moving forward from the committee. And then the committee looked at their comparisons of scores between the two schools, which really were very close. So they looked at what did they score the two schools, and really they were very similar in scores. So we talked about that. Then we had a discussion on the space allocation that we've put together, which you've all seen, and having some discussion about there is a backup plan if we ended up with a withdrawal. Could we fit Sabattis and Wales in Oak Hill Middle School and the high school? And we felt comfortable that we could probably answer the question yes. And so we kind of talked about the last two slides of the space allocation gives people some facts they could use to come to that. And we were talking about like the high school, if you take 150 students out of the high school, you could move and have the high school maybe be grades 5 through 12. I mean, we'd have to talk out what is the configuration, but it was what's the space? Would we have to get portables? So there was a discussion on that because people feel like they need to hear that if Litchfield withdraws, we still can educate the students, even if we closed SPS. So there was some discussion around that. Then we have a tour planned for Wednesday, the 29th. Nicole's saying yes. Was it the 29th that I had? Okay.
So we did say the 29th,
the
which is,
29th?
but our agenda says our next meeting is May 27th, which is a Monday.
Oh,
And I'm
so
not sure
something's
if
wrong.
that's a typo to be the 29th, then that's an issue for our tours. So
Yeah.
just a little.
So that's the
snafu
fifth
there.
Wednesday, so something's off on there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nicole, for
So
noticing that.
hopefully it's still the 29th.
Yeah, so we plan for the May 29th, and the committee is working to help with the tours, which is awesome. So both schools will be open from 5:30 to 8:30, and then we'll split up so that people can go to one school and then go over to the other school within that 3-hour span. For the tour, we're going to advertise at, we heard this baseball game the same time as the budget meeting, which we're not happy to hear, but so we're going to get things out with flyers and come for the tours. So we decided the tour date tonight. And so that wraps up that committee report.
Thank you. Personnel and Policy Committee.
You want the update from last time, but the financial committee that we didn't get to last time, does that roll to this time or does it skip?
No, it'll go to the next time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So policy and personnel, it's interview season, so we are very busy participating in interviews as schedules allow. We reviewed 4 job descriptions, the data specialist position, the network specialist position, a job description for a nutrition director, not because we are hiring one, just because there wasn't one that we had. And then also the administrative assistant to the superintendent's position. So we reviewed and approved those. And then reviewed policy BEDH, which is the public participation at board director meeting policy that got kicked back to us in February. And we are going to push it through to you all for a first reading for our next meeting. So be prepared for that to come your way. And I think that's it policy-wise. Anything? Yeah, that's it for policy. Yes.
Can I just ask a question? When that policy was kicked back, there was also one about the agenda. Is that one coming back too, or?
Yes, that will be.
May 8th.
May 8th.
Okay.
Yes.
All right,
So
thank you.
next board meeting, those will all come back to you because they were presented at our meeting that we were all remote and we didn't feel like we could have the discussion. So that's
Okay.
coming back.
Thank you.
Yep.
We'll move down to number 9, board member comments.
Yeah, so just some comments. It's been a long season. We're getting ready for the end of the school. It's unfortunate that we scheduled our budget meeting same night as a significant baseball game that was probably scheduled 6, 7, 8 months ago. So we need to maybe be a little more cautious on when we plan meetings where we want to have participation, because very few of those people will probably come into the budget meeting because they'll have their family with kids and probably hungry and probably aren't going to hang out. And that's probably a segment of the population that really has a lot to be concerned about and interested in supporting, or their concerns about the school budget, whose voices won't be acknowledged by the vote. The second thing is I think that our budget is a tough one this year, and our responsibility, as it was mentioned, is to propose a budget. That's what we're doing. We've adopted one to propose to the towns that the board feels is necessary for the education of our students. It's why we take a different oath. Should be. If you're not, then you have to see your town officials. But a different oath than the selectmen take. So our oath as school board members are laid out in statute in 20A, and I forget the rest of the citation, but it is a little bit different, and it's about supporting and providing educational opportunities. And while we keep one eye on what it's going to cost because we know it's a burden, the oath we take is to provide education and the facilities and take care of it. So we propose it, we'll take it to the town. If they give us something less than that passes at the referendum, then we come back and, working with the administration, we will make those cuts, just as we did last year for the money that was taken out of facilities. Things had to be done. Fortunately, we managed to get some grants that help offset some of those losses, but those were unknown at the time, or we could have, can't bank on future grants. So we have a responsibility, and the responsibility is to the students, primarily their education, so that 15 years from now, they're the ones that are going to be sitting here. They're the ones that are going to be out in the community supporting the school system that educated them. And if we don't give them the tools that they're going to need to be successful, then it's just a downhill spiral forever. So, I'm not looking for a big increase, but evaluations doesn't really change the amount of tax I pay. It's just a different evaluation. We only going to raise so many dollars, and whether my house is evaluated at $100,000 or $200,000. If it's at $200,000, then I only have to pay half as much per $1,000. This still comes up with the same amount that we have to pay when it's reevaluated. So people have to be able to understand that. Just because the value of our property goes up doesn't necessarily mean our taxes goes up. It just changes the mill rate to come up with the same amount overall. So I hope that we're able to support this and it goes through. If not, then my desire and hope is that at the budget meeting, if the cuts are made, they're prudent cuts, and that they're cuts that we're going to be able to satisfy, or that will be approved at the referendum, so that we're not going in the vicious cycle around and around as we did last year. Last year was not the first time that we've done that. There's been years in the past where we've had multiple referendums, even looking at delaying them into end of August or September when everybody was back from vacation. All right, which is not the way you want to do it, but you want to get everybody's voice heard. So we've done our work. We're not all in agreement, but while there was a lot of suggestions and things to look at, we never really offered specifically cut this. What we said was, look at this. Isn't there another way to do it? Things like that. So we've got a proposal. Let's support it. Let's get it passed. And then go on. And I think Christy makes a good point that we need to look at things. What is the driving factors for the budget? Are we making the best use of our resources? Do we need what we have? And that's another discussion. It's hard to do during budget season because you're looking at everything. I've said for a long time, I think we're offering too many different courses at the high school. When we lost a lot of students, we had a lot of space, we had a lot of teachers, we just added more classes so everybody could be busy. My opinion, just my opinion itself. But look at things like that. Do we need to offer them, or are there other options? VHS, online courses, because when they go to college, they're going to be taking online courses or remote learning in college. They were in Columbia University, the rest of the semester is going to be remote. So there's things that we have to do as a board in the future so that we can say, yes, the budget is what we need, the staffing is what we need, the courses that we're offering are the courses that need to be offered to allow our students to succeed.
Excuse me. I'd first like to say that thanks to Ooch, my son had to have yo-yos for Easter that are now sitting in a drawer because they don't do what Ooch made them do. So it was very, gosh, what's the word? Very impressive to my 8-year-old. So that was great. I liked hearing about that. I actually saw videos about Kittery and everywhere else. I mean, he's on YouTube or Google. So I've seen Darth Vader, and he did a couple of other things. But anyway, so very good. Try to lighten the mood a little bit, but budget is budget, right? So we talked about it last year. You need to look deep in the corners and figure out where the money can not be spent. That's where I think we're going to be at. I feel like that there's a lot of tension here when it comes to budget, and there's a lot of misguidance regarding our role. So when you look at the statute, when you look at our policy, they don't necessarily coincide. And when I took my oath, it was to the towns, Litchfield, Sabattis, Wales, and Oak Hill High School. Not sure why, but I did. So, when we propose things and then are told, well, we'll cut it where we deem to cut, where we deem it necessary, it doesn't make sense for us to spend that time to give you those options or ideas. But my major concern is if we had an increase of 1.3 last year, I know you guys said it earlier. I think it was 1.3. 1.34. Thank you. Really bad with numbers, memory, remembering them. But this year it's 8.34 or 43. If 1.34 wasn't sufficient to provide our students with what they needed, then I didn't hear that. And I didn't hear why a 7% increase above the budget last year is necessary to give the students an appropriate education. That is where my concern is. That is what I think we might want to focus on for the public vote meeting. And then hopefully I won't have much more to say about that in those coming weeks. But the last thing I wanted to mention is, has there ever been any talk of a bottle donation location at our buildings or anywhere? So I have bottles that continuously stack up in my garage, bags of bottles, right? And we have people who come here, our students, they come here for fundraise, they need to fundraise or they need funds. Have we ever thought about having a bottle or a long-standing, because I gave all of them to whatever it was, an empty bottle recently, like ridiculous amount. So I just didn't know if there was a way to have like a standing. The Cub Scouts used to do that in Litchfield. It was at the country store, and they'd go down. Now, granted, somebody has to own it and work it, but I didn't know if that was ever talked about. Just something I would like to do or maybe set up. so I can get rid of them and give it back to our students. Thank you.
Laura? Just go down the line, huh? So I'd like to thank everyone and a shout out to our administrative assistants on the Administrative Assistants Day, and to the high school for being so welcoming, students and staff up there with the 8th grade step up. I personally attended that, and I have no idea what Mr. Aliberti is talking about. And I also heard the 7th grade girls were pretty strong in tug of war, so shout out to them. It was a hot topic of discussion for quite a while. They have no idea where that strength came from, those boys. So, and then to touch on the budget a little bit, in addition to my previous comment, is it's not personal. We know that not only people in the RSU4, but everywhere in our community show up every day and work hard at all pieces of things that are thrown at you. And, you know, if we could give you $50 million, personally have kids in the school and would love to see every single opportunity that they could have too. So, you know, I just hope that discussions are professional. It's kept at, you know, not everyone's going to agree. You can't please everyone either. I think that the really important thing to understand, though, is that people are heard, and it's a little more than like, yeah, we hear you, thanks, check off, because then people stop showing up. And so as much as maybe some people don't want to hear that, that's kind of the ultimate truth. So I just encourage people to continue to be open-minded as conversations happen. Just know it's not personal, and you know, if personally I could give you $50 million, I would write a check tomorrow, but we can't. So I just appreciate everyone's work.
So without any objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned at 7:45.